Hey guys, Chelsea here. Now in this video I'm going to be looking at all of the Normandy invasion maps. So that means, you know, Vertimer, Airfield, D-Day, Le Brie, Ruins of Val, and Omer. I'm basically saying, I'm looking at all of the maps and I'm basically saying which point on each of these maps is the hardest to attack. Now, again, this is the hardest to attack, not the hardest to defend. I'm going to actually do another video on the hardest to defend points. You know, to kind of level it out, because some of these have some pretty easy to attack points. Some have some awful to attack points. Anyways, let's start with Airfield. We'll start with Airfield, then we'll go on to D-Day, then we'll do Le Brie, then we'll do Omer, then we'll do Ruins of Val, then we'll do Vertimer, and go like that, because it's in alphabetical order. Let's do it like that. For Airfield, there's not really an easy point to defend on Airfield, like an easy point to attack on Airfield. Like, I would say it's one of the harder invasion maps. The only point I think, you know, you can actually completely write off saying, oh, that's just really easy, it's the final one. But the final one even then had some pretty tough parts to attack. So, what's the hardest? Well, it will either be the first or the fourth point. I'm going to go with the fourth point, actually, because I think the fourth point is much easier to defend. Because you're just going to be, you know, you just see tons and tons of just enemies swamping that point. It's not easy to attack. And tanks can't really get to it without them taking a Panzerfaust to the face. You can't, like, it's not easy to attack. Really, just... And planes have little impact on this point because it's so small and most of it's underground, so you can't really, you know, capture it. You could stack this point so much. It's really good. It's a really good point to defend. It's basically, once you've got past this point, you just put your feet up because the rest of the map's easy. Anyways, fourth point comes in at for the Airfield one. Let's go on to D-Day. Coming in for D-Day is actually another bunker point. It's the fourth bunker, which is the fourth point bunker. Now, if you don't know, D-Day, of course, D-Day branches out, so you have like different bunkers. Now, there was of course the right side bunker, which is really hard to attack from, and there was of course the death conga line you can make out of the last point, which is on in that tiny village area, or it's a tiny command centre actually, to give its proper term. But I'm gonna have to go with the point just before it, which is the bunker. This thing is hard to attack because you're gonna have to, in order to get to it, you're basically throwing yourself, unless you can do the slide glitch where you basically just crawl straight through the crawl through the MG port, which puts you dangerously exposed to machine gun fire, and obviously people can block that up. But unless you do that, you have to basically put yourself, you know, in a really precarious situation, in a precarious position, because you have to attack, because the only two entrances, you know, are overlooked by the enemy spawn. So it's kind of a bit of a dickish, you know, point to attack. Now, as well as that, you're climbing uphill, and it's just not that pleasant to attack. Yeah, easy choice for D-Day. Very easy choice for D-Day. Let's go on to Le Brie. Now, for Le Brie, this was another easy one. It's the third point, the barn. It's just... It doesn't matter where you're attacking from. The barn is really hard to attack from. If you're attacking from the actual, you know, from the west side, then attacking the barn, you ended up basically having to go up, you know, you had to go across a river, a dried up river. But, yeah, there's a lot of flanking manoeuvres, but it's just not that, it's very hard to attack, it's very easy to defend. Yeah, there was a few Le Brie ones, basically both the second points were a bit dickish. The first point, if you have the one that's slightly forward, it's quite easy to defend because you can just because you can actually spawn camp you can actually use that to spawn camp. But with the barn, it's it's easy to defend. It's, you know, you have a lot of free space above, you know, in front of the barn, and you could do a lot of damage. Your tanks are very useful here because, you know, you've got a bit of cover. You've got the bridge, obviously. Normandy's a really great map in general. So having this, you know, it's a very hard to attack point, but it's fun. It's a fun map, anyways. Yeah, let's move on to Omer. Now, Omer's actually a very difficult one because there's not really, like, there's one point in Omer, but it's really hard to describe. It's the block, it's the 4th point block. Now, if you don't know, Omer basically splits in 3 ways. You can either basically zigzag across the river. You can either go straight through the city, or you can go on the outskirts of the city on the left side. Now, the left side, if you go on the left side, you will miss this 4th point, and you'll get the fountain instead, which is pretty easy, to be honest. But if you don't, then you're going to you're going to actually end up with the block, which is just it's not easy to attack. Omer's block, for some reason, it always is, like, it doesn't matter how good you're going. If you get Omer, the block on Omer, your run will stop. It will just stop. Doesn't matter how well you're doing. You will lose about 300, 400, or lose completely at this area. I have no idea why it's so difficult to attack. It's generally just, you could do so well the whole game, but then you just stunts there. It stops there. I have no idea why. It's generally just, it's so confusing to me, because I'm just like, why aren't anyone attacking at the 4th point? Like, I don't get this. I generally do not get why the 4th point just stops the way it does. Like, the progression just stops. Anyways, enough said about Omer's 4th point. It's a very easy to defend one. It's very spread out. You know, because you're basically covering. You have to attack. You know, it's very hard to defend as well. It's hard to defend and it's hard to attack. Anyways, let's move on to Ruins of Val. For Ruins, I'm going to have to go with a pretty. It's going to have to be the 3rd point. Now, the 3rd point is very, very easy to defend. Now, there were a few contenders for Ruins of Val. The 4th point is quite easy to defend. The 1st point, if you get the warehouse, is quite easy to defend. Or even the 1st point, the original 1st point, is quite easy to defend. But I'm going with the 3rd point because it's just, I don't know, it's the same reason for Omer. It's the same one with Omer, where you have you know, for some reason, everything stops at this point. Like, have you ever noticed, like, when you're going into Ruins of Val, like, everyone just stops trying at the 3rd point, or for the allies? It's weird. The church is a pretty solid one as well, because the church is quite interesting, actually, because it can either be very, very strong or very hellish, depending on your team. But I think with Ruins of Val, the 3rd point is just so good to defend. It's so easy to defend, and it's really hard for the attackers to attack, because you've got, I mean, half of the point is basically exposed to the defenders. Like, and it's very easy for the defenders to just basically go out the front door or go around it, and just, so if you're camping by the, you know, if you're camping on either of the sides, away from where the defenders come from, then you're just going to still run into defenders, because they're just going to run around the corner and shoot you up with a machine gun or something. Anyways, we'll go on to the final map, which is, of course, Versailles, so let's go on with that map. With Versailles, I'm going to go with the 2nd point. Now, the 1st point is also very dickish with the bunker, but I had to go with the 2nd point because I say, if you can get through Versailles' 2nd point with a decent amount of tickets, you will win the map. It's that simple, because the other points are very easy to take. Other than the first 2 points, which are rock hard, yeah, this point is just very, like, I would say it's a what's it, the coastal tower, I think that's what it's called, but it's very hard to attack from because it's basically the bunker on D-Day, only just even harder to attack because you're climbing up a hill for a start. You're climbing up a hill. You've also got MGs firing at you. You've got, you know, it's not as bad as say like, you know, you've got machine guns firing in all directions, but you can, you know, enemy tanks are spawning in. You've got, you know, the enemies are spawning quite close, and you know, just trying to climb up that hill is very hard. Plus, of course, it's a good team will literally fortify the shit out of that point, which makes it very hard to attack. Because if you have like a couple engineer squads, you can just build like AT guns, you can build AA guns, you can build machine gun nests, barbed wire, you name it, and it's just going to really, really frustrate all enemy teams to no end. It's generally, I say, if you can get past this with 400, 500 tickets, you should win the match. Like, it's after this point, the map really starts getting easy. So that's going to be my video, which is, of course, the hardest to capture points on every invasion map for Normandy. Leave your thoughts some other very hard ones, or if you agreed with some of the ones I pointed out as well. I'm going to make one on the easiest probably tomorrow, so leave your thoughts on that one. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.